So when I first brought this car home, my mom cried. She actually broke down in tears because she thought her son was stepping down in life, because you know how parents think, they want you to move up in life, and one of these things is to have a newer and newer car. Hi, I'm Dr. Suneth, and these are my dailies. So I am a GP, and I have been working for the last 12 or so years, and I have been someone who is very interested in, as you can clearly see, JDMs. And they've been my life, more or less. Speaking of the Honda, this was actually very interestingly a downgrade in my life. And at a time when I was just about to get married, back in 2012, and I wanted to relieve some of the financial burden of the wedding from my parents, and I also wanted to move out. So I needed some cash badly. And at the time I had a Honda Civic, and that was my first car. I didn't know anything about Hondas when I bought it, and I didn't even know what VTEC was, and I learned the hard way that that particular spec didn't have VTEC. So I sold that car for, you know how things are in this country when it's doctor owned and well maintained. I sold it for about 300,000 to 400,000 more than I bought it for. And this was my nest egg, this was my starting money. And mind you, that car had English plates. So I needed a car, and this went up on sale. And it looked quite different to this now. It was a GSR Spec automatic. It was Bayside blue. No, I'm sorry, it was Adriatic pearl blue. So this, of course, was, as you can see, it's 300 dash. So when I first brought this car home, my mom cried. She actually broke down in tears because she thought her son was stepping down in life. Because you know how parents think, they want you to move up in life, and one of these things is to have a newer and newer car. So when she saw me coming back in a car that was clearly a good 10 years older or 5 years older than the one I had, and was, to her dismay, an older plate, she actually broke down in tears and said, I'm very sorry for you. So thus began the journey of, myself with this car. And it was off to a, fabulous start with my mom in tears. So, but as time went on, I started reading about the car. I started discovering, videos online about what the Integra actually was and the potential it had. And then my automatic gearbox broke down. And fixing the gearbox was actually a more expensive prospect than putting a manual gearbox into it. And this is how I began my journey on the rabbit hole. So what was a manual swap eventually ended up being a complete Type R conversion, because as I realized over time, Honda made a Type R of the 4-door, and they only made 4,000 units, and it hardly made out of Japan. So it's a very, very rare car. There are a lot of 2-door Type Rs, but there are very few 4-door Type Rs, and people didn't even know it existed. So what began as a gearbox conversion eventually went up to the engine as well, and I slowly began planning out my review and my build. And mind you, I'm a government servant. I don't have tons of money. And at the moment, this car has gone through a number of engine rebuilds, simply because, see, I'm a doctor, like I said. I don't have a degree in motor mechanics, and everything I've done to the car, I've learned. And most of the things I've learned the hard way. And given that most Sri Lankan mechanics will never tell you, I don't know, or I can't do this, and they'd rather, get into it and then realize that they are heavily compromised with their knowledge. I learned things the hard way. And this car has gone through a number of rebuilds, where eventually it was a B18 and now it's a B20. And what I had to do eventually was to what we call to overbuild the car. And overbuild is where you build a car way beyond the capacity of what you would expect, so that it doesn't run at its peak all the time. What I was doing previously was building it to run at its peak, and when you run an engine at its peak all the time, things are going to break. So doing an overbuild is not cheap. It is a very costly affair. So that's where you build a car to run beyond its peak, so it's not at its peak and stressed all the time. And this took a good 5 years to realize and to materialize as well. And at the moment it's running fully forged internals. I'm running a compression ratio of 13:1, which is quite high for a daily driven car, but then all that depends on how good your build and your tuner is. Also, it's tuned for a street tune, but I also raced the same tune. And and it is running a very aggressive cam, which is also a very rare camshaft, which is from Japan, a camshaft called the GSR Spec DB8 cams. And this gives me a very high engagement of VTEC, but it also a very aggressive engagement of VTEC, and this is what we all go for. Because initially this car was built for comfort. It was GSR. GSRs were executive sedans. They were not, racing cars per se. So the cams which came on the car, and to some extent the Type R cams, are not as aggressive as these ones are. So when I started this build, I was actually, I've gone through a journey with this car, and this car has become so more or less a part of my life. By saying so, what I mean is, it came to me at a very difficult time in my life, and through this build I've come to realize a lot of things about life in itself. There are times I've almost given up on the car, and there are times I've lost friends and family actually over this car, and I'm thankful for it, for being that denominator that has basically shown me what who true people are and who fake people are. And it is amazing how a journey like that, through a process like building a car, can actually expose you to both the beauty as well as the vagaries of life. So for the worst part of this, I've been nearly destitute and actually homeless during this process of building this car, and due to the expenses incurred in it. And at any point in time, had I just sold it, I would have recovered, but I didn't. And being a family man, it has been that much difficult to go through this process as well as keep a family intact. So it was actually a very difficult thing to do, but very rewarding at the end of the day, because the end result pays off. So to do a build this intricate, this detailed, I've gone down to the very last detail of making this a Type R conversion. And by what I mean is, forget the engine and the gearbox changes, the internals, the interior, the suspension, even the seam belts. The seam belts for the Type R have been replicated. So to go down to that much detail, and I'm a stickler for details. So that takes time, patience, money, and a lot of hard work. So this is why this car is, very special to me, in the sense it speaks to me. It's a part of my life. It's a part of my family. I can't imagine a life without it, and I don't think the car can ever be anything else except the dog's car, because everyone knows it as such, and they know the amount of. Anyone in the community knows how much I put into it. So this car was initially, when it came to me, it was an automatic, and it was a very comfortable car, Grand Tourer. You can just run for miles in it. The biggest, I'd say, if you look at pros and cons of doing a build, I'm not even going to go into the financial aspect of it, because it's a huge black hole. I literally throw money into it and never get anything out of it for years and years. If I could think about one thing that I miss about the old car, it would be the auto gearbox, because there are days, stuck in traffic. I hardly go to Colombo, but the days I do, having a stage 1 hybrid clutch in traffic is a very difficult thing. If you skip leg day, you're in trouble. So I would honestly say the one thing I actually miss from the car is the automatic. But apart from that, it's all good. I love it. It is an absolute monster. To be honest, this is not a car to be driven when you're angry, because it is a killer on the road. And it's something that needs to be treated with a lot of respect. And as Spider-Man's uncle said, great power comes great responsibility. And I do believe in that, because it's instant. Power delivery is instant. This is what it is with Honda. There's no delay, there's no lag, there's no spool. You smack it and it's there, and it is a relentless force of power. And once VTEC kicks in, it's almost uncontrollable. So this makes it a lot of fun to drive, and it is a very enjoyable daily, and I absolutely love every time I spend it. And all that hardship, every difficulty I've gone through, every tough moment in my life, whenever even I'm having a bad day, if I just get in this car, sit in it, and just go for a drive. I don't need to flow it, just go for a drive. It's theater, it's drama, the sound, the noise, the engagement, the driver engagement, because it's so visceral. All this is so, the drive input is just so in your face, and you're so connected to everything on the road, the car, the mechanics. It just transports you to another level, and this I cannot replicate this in any other vehicle I've driven, and I've driven quite a few interesting vehicles, but I cannot replicate that in any other vehicle I've driven. So the absolute drama and theater of driving this car, the visceral, the power, the handling, it just takes you to another level, and it is absolutely amazing. And every hardship I've gone through, there are days that this car does get my goat, so to speak. There are days sometimes, it doesn't, it gives me a bit of trouble, or it's, it burns a bit of oil, and I'm worried about it. But all of that can be forgiven, all of that can be forgotten if you just flow it and enjoy that drive, because that sheer driving pleasure I doubt I will get with any other car. Because being a professional, being 36 now, there are days that I see Mercs on the road or any European car on the road and I'm thinking maybe it's time. But one of those days you just get into the car, late evening, take the car out, go for a spin, just drive it, just enjoy it, just be one with the road, and you come back realizing it will never be that in any other vehicle, and that alone makes it worth all the while for me. And of course, living with one of these is not easy. It can be trying, and especially given the social stigma in this country. Given my job, I've had interventions at work where they sit you down and say, "Malli, what will your parents think? What will your family think? It's an old car. Why are you doing this? It's about time you have a new one." This is our samaje for you. And they do tend to think that having an older car means that you haven't really succeeded in life. But to me, real success or true success is the testament or the integrity rather it takes to do something like this with a car that is not socially acceptable. To me, that is a bigger achievement than just going to any shop or using my car permit and buying anything that comes off the line. And also, it is a lot of maintenance, it is a lot of hard work, and I enjoy it. Actually, there are days that it has broken down on me, and I have, gone through literal hell to get it up again. But I do enjoy those days. I enjoy the time spent in the garage. I learn things there. I learned patience through this car because I was a very impatient man back in the day. And I would honestly, and I now have a son. He's 3 years old. Someday I would like him to drive. I would like him to learn to drive in this, and I would like to see him race in this. That is, if he chooses to do so. I want him to learn what it's like to have a project car in his life, because going through that process teaches you, it defines your character, it builds your character, it teaches you good values like patience, honesty, loyalty, and most importantly, it teaches you the fact that good things in life need to be built and not bought. So once this car was done, I actually wanted to stretch an itch and raced it for a little while. I went for 2 races at Katakurunda. The first one I entered, I was dead last because I didn't even know how to get off the line properly, and it was the first experience for me. So I thought, and of course the car broke down naturally, right? So rebuilt it again and went back. And the next time I was second in my class. Mind you, I'm very proud of that achievement because I was up against trailer queens. I was up against cars that competed in my class, which came there on a trailer and went back on a trailer and were race spec. And I drove there in my daily. I went against them and I came second, and I drove home in my daily. And that to me that is a greater achievement than even winning the race. So I think I've established what the car can do competitively, and successfully scratched that itch because racing costs, and I don't think I'm ready for that right now because I had other commitments. But so basically I'm really happy that I have a car that can go head to head with the best of them, as well as just I could just drive it to work and come home. So the inherent message in all of this, or rather what I would like to tell anyone who wants to start a build, or anyone who is inspired by this to start something, or to put your hands down into a build, is it's not easy, because what you see is the end product. And in this day and age in society, social media throws the end product at you, and you think, wow, I need this, I need to have this in my life. But you don't really see the amount of hard work, the dedication and the perseverance, sweat, tears that go into a build. So at the outset, if you have goals and dreams like this, plan it out, very specifically financially plan it out as well, at least so that you won't be destitute and homeless like I was at one point. Stick to it. Do it bit by bit. Do what you can. Don't try to do this to impress your peers or to gain status in society. None of that matters. It is your connection with your car that matters, and it is, at the end of the day, it's a character you build through your vehicle that shows out who you are, your testament to the rest of the world. So like I would tell my son someday, what I would say to anyone who's interested in doing a build is, be focused, be strong, and stick to your guns. and always plan it out. Reach out for help. Don't ever be ashamed to ask anyone. I mean, anyone from as you all know, I'm the head of Limitless, and we do a lot of work for the car enthusiast community. You can reach out to any of us if you need any help at any point in doing a build. We are always there to help you. Similarly, reach out to anybody who you know who has better knowledge, because the car guys, I know the vast majority of them are good, kind, generous people. We are there to help each other. We are not there to put each other down. And as such, there is a wealth of knowledge and experience if you take the Lankan car culture totally. And most of them, a vast majority of them, are very happy to share it and help you. So reach out, plan it, and you will succeed. And stick to your guns. Never ever give up, because as a parting message, all I can say is, remember, a car that you build with your own hands, with your own time and your hard work and your tears, will never turn back and say that it doesn't love you. It's going to be there for you through and through. And it is that to me now. And I'm very glad that I have done what I've done with this car.